Hey everybody! I think we're on now. The sound guys figured it out. Woohoo!
Woo!
We are dealing without Spencer today, who is in Canada on vacation, and we have been trying to figure out our audio, and I think we got it.
This is exactly why we're for the $15 minimum wage, $15 an hour minimum wage.
Yes. So welcome finally to Let's Talk About Gay Stuff, the podcast where we talk about gay stuff and discuss the week in LGBT history. That's right. It's the podcast Let's Talk About Gay Stuff.
Woo!
And Oprah too. We'll talk about.
Yeah. All right. We are Thomas.
Tony.
And
Kendall, I think.
Kendall. Oh, thank you. All right. All right. So welcome, boys. This week we have an exciting, fun week to talk about some gay topics. We're discussing the week of August 4th through August the 10th, and we'll discuss Barack Obama,
Yes.
Andy Warhol, and Paris is Burning. Those are some fun topics. Be interested to see where we meander and through these because they're very diverse.
We already told my Barack Obama story.
True.
I'll give a recap of that one.
Do you have to?
It's sensual.
Please.
Okay. Gotcha.
Do you have to?
Yeah.
All right.
I will even embellish.
So, so before we get into the nitty gritty, how was the week? What's going on? Any good reads, listens, combos?
Week's good. Nothing major for me.
I had a moment at
Tell us.
a local gay establishment
Yeah.
with my friend Brian, who's here in the live audience. Give it up for Brian. This is not where you take your top off.
Hello. He's taking the bottoms off though.
Yeah.
We were at, let's see, about a week ago, a bar, and I thought he had put up a guy to say this, but a guy came up and said, "Oh, you're from that podcast. Let's talk about gay stuff." He said, "I love it. I listen to it all the time." And I was like, "Yeah, okay."
You were like,
Yeah,
rude,
sure
like,
you do.
Sure.
Okay, you must know Brian. And the
he's
guy
like,
was like, "No, I really do." And he was just disgusted and turned off. So we might have lost a listener.
Now we have a 1-star rating. Thanks,
I know.
guys.
And now we're down to 3
Wait,
listeners.
why was he
Wait,
that
Kendall.
turned off if you were really didn't know?
I don't know.
I mean,
He'll be a special guest star.
Yeah. That's like,
Call in now.
hopefully he's listening. So I mean,
We love you.
Yeah.
We have
Please come back.
a fruit basket for you.
Please come back. Yeah.
It's
Wait.
in Tony's pants.
It's called Tony.
It's here.
It's all rotten fruit.
Speaking of random people at the bars, which just tells everyone what we do all the time. I was at the bar a few weeks ago, and
It's called networking.
yeah, that's what I say. I'm networking all the time. Now I tell my dad or my parents in general, my mom and dad,
Networking.
I have to go out to the bar. Like I have to whore the podcast.
And
out.
they
Like,
pray for you.
Yeah, they
on
do.
the spot.
They whip out the rosary. But no, I was out there a few weeks ago, and some girl came up. Were you there? No, it was Spencer and our friend Peter, and we were.
We're all a fan of
chit-chatting.
Peter.
Okay. So we're sitting and talking, and then some girl just kind of leans in, and she just starts staring at us, and we're like, huh? And she's like, hi, and we were like, hey.
Hey.
And she's like, hi. And I'm like, so how are you having fun? It's Sunday fun day. And she's like, yeah, I'm having a great time. And then she just kind of stared, and I was like, this is a time to plug the podcast. Hey, do you listen to podcasts? And she's like, she started giving me this weird look. I'm like, so I gave her the card that we
She
give
was
out.
looking for drugs.
I'm like, it's a podcast. So let's talk about gay stuff. I'm like, you like that? She's like, no. I'm like, well, you're at a gay bar. She's like, I know I'm at a gay bar, but my brother's gay. And she's like, and do you know, she named some big car dealer. Do you know this dealer? And I'm like the car dealer?
A lot of. Okay. You had to clarify car dealer.
Well, like the car dealer? And she
Wink,
was
wink.
like, yeah. She was like, well,
Dealer.
that's my dad. And I'm like, what? So she stormed, and then she just ran off. Like, how dare you? I don't have time for I'm like, you don't have
future
time for
sponsor?
a podcast?
What a bitch.
So hopefully she's listening.
You can tell me that dealer afterwards because I'll never buy a car from
Yeah.
there.
So I mean, what's that? Yeah, her brother was gay.
Oh, Brian knows who he is.
Oh, you know him.
Brian
the guest, the number one fan.
Yes. Speaking
But we
of
love you, and if you're listening, go ahead and give us a 5-star.
I just thought it was odd. So here we are trashing the few people who listen
I
to
know.
us.
Be nice.
Let's be nice to the people. There are some people who are good, loyal listeners. Your friend on Twitter, Tony, she's been Lori.
Oh, Lori, yeah. Love
so
her.
Kathy, the intern's mom.
We're loving Kathy, the intern's mom.
Gloria.
Gloria.
My friend Andrea.
Your friend Andrea. Our friend Dusty. I mean, we've never met Dusty.
Dusty,
Yeah,
yes.
so we're down with Dusty he does a book review.
We love all of our loyal
Yeah.
listeners.
I leave it on for the cat when I leave.
Yeah, so leave it on for the cat.
Just kidding. I don't have a cat.
You know who else listens? our friend Martha.
Martha.
We have another guest here today. She was
Martha
on the
was
quiz
our
show.
first lesbian guest.
We're
on our
filming
quiz
in front of a
edition.
live studio
Yes,
audience
we are
this
filming.
week.
This
We didn't know how to
practice.
interact around lesbians.
Now we
We
she-
kept making
I love
vagina noises,
lesbians. I've
which
always
we didn't know what they
known how to
were. So it
interact
was like
around lesbians.
But she knew what she was doing. She came like in true lesbian fashion and beat you at a game. She's like, "Here you go, sissy."
Thank you.
And she beat you at a quiz show
she
game.
built the bench I'm sitting
like,
on right now too.
Listen, like the irony here is Martha has a
No,
job.
she's not a handicraft.
Martha has a job. You don't. She's got a car that paid off. You don't.
Oh, burn.
And she beat you at the quiz show.
And you know what? I have a friend who came here to be on the podcast. You don't.
I don't.
Don't have a friend. Hurt people hurt people.
I always love Martha's like her good. She's got always these inspirational quotes. I mean, she's one of my favorite things though that Martha would say to people when they would throw an insult her way. It was like, "Put it on the pillow."
Oh, that's cute. Put it on a pillow.
On a pillow. So many good Martha stories.
She's from Slaughter, Louisiana, so it's pillow.
Yes, a
Pillow.
pillow.
Listen to the quiz edition because we talk about her pillows.
Her pillows. We do.
Woof.
Those are some nice down feather pillows.
She's got them pillows.
Like you don't waste those on guests.
No.
No, she's taken. So unfortunately, to any
And
of
she's
those-
got that fan
She's
warped
got-
down.
She's got the fan thorpe down. She's got a lady, Justina. So hands off, everybody. Oh, she's throwing a shout out to Justina. So yeah, so Martha, thanks for visiting. Brian, thanks for joining us. It's nice to have some folks around. So that's cool and different. I mean, we've had some folks around, but those are boyfriends. They have to be here. These folks have just decided to join us and kiki with us. So, you guys ready to talk about some gay stuff?
Yes.
Sure.
All right. So, Kendall, why don't you lead us off?
Oh, we're getting right into this.
Yeah, get in.
Okay, I know our guest,
Right in.
our fan that's here loves Pose. Do y'all watch Pose?
I watched one episode.
Yeah, me too.
I
You,
do not.
sir, you?
I do not watch it. I don't watch TV.
So the one episode I thought I was gonna. We're gonna turn off a lot of people here, but I saw one episode. I thought I was gonna like it, but Ryan Murphy produces that, right?
Yes, which is a
So-
very distinct style that is kind of cheesy.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a little campy. That's what I was looking for. I mean, I know there's some great plot lines that people are really kind of drawn to and connected, but I just that episode I saw, it seemed like I said, American Horror Story in the sense that when
I'm gonna
on
get
the-
into it though,
on the
'cause
backside
people,
of
it's
American
all
Horror
over
Story, where they get
social media.
weird. Yeah, no, people love it, so I'm down for that.
Mostly from Brian, our fan, who's here in our audience tonight.
It gets in depth. Yeah. The story.
You can't hear him, but he's talking more about Pose,
Yeah.
which makes me think we should all watch it probably.
Yeah.
But anyways, the reason I talk about Pose is because a lot of it is based on, the whole show is based upon ball culture, excuse
Bowl.
me.
Who's from Louisiana now?
Bowl peanuts. First of all, have you seen the documentary Paris is Burning?
Yes. I think I saw it with you one time, but I don't remember it. Like, it was in the background, and I just heard someone saying, what was she said? Extravagant or extravaganza. 'Cause that's all I heard, and I went
So you
back,
don't remember much from it.
I went back to work the next day, and Josh, another one of our listeners, I just kept saying extravaganza, and of course he had seen the movie like 18,000 times, and I thought I was woke to the that he was just like
Bless it.
he was being
Please.
nice.
He was
to
not
me.
impressed.
He was being nice to me, but yeah, Spencer's a big fan, so I'm sad he's not here for this episode because he'd be chiming in the whole time. But yeah, he made me sit down and watch it, which was great. My younger boyfriend is 12 years younger than me.
I think it's actually, so it came out August 9th, 1991 in New York because it was a documentary, so it was released several times as each like film fest or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But the New York viewing was August 9th, 1991, and it was made in New York. But the reason I bring up Pose is because Paris is Burning is about, first of all, it's like, to me, the most iconic #1 gay documentary out there. But it's based on ball culture, which is actually bull. Why do I keep spelling it like that? What is in my mouth? You'll never know.
Ben's out of town, so girl, you better.
I know.
It's a
ball.
it's a replacement.
Ball. A gay man who can't say ball.
He left the ball in your mouth. He's like, here's this
My
to play with.
God.
A
One
toy.
ball at a time.
All right.
So, ball culture.
My mom listens to this, and I'm always scared. Like Brian called me out on something the other day that I said, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that." My mom's listening. Yikes! Hi, mom. Okay, sorry.
Yolanda, if you know how to pronounce bull, please call and tell it to me. But it's about ball culture, which is... Why do I keep clearing my throat, too? Oh, this is off the rails.
It's that ball.
Should I just start all over?
It's that ball in your throat.
What is it in my throat? I think it's a phantom. Beep.
Sure.
So Paris is Burning. It came out August 9th, 1991. It was filmed in the 80s around bull culture. Bull peanuts. Bull crawfish. Okay.
Bull crawfish.
So, ball culture in New York.
Still saying it wrong.
This is going to be the longest episode. So it's mostly gay. It's gay, mostly black and Latino. Bull culture. Oh, this might be the most off the rail. Who do you think its fault it is? Martha in the audience, or
It is not Martha's fault.
well, then that means it's Brian, our number one fan and listener.
Our only
Martha's
And she's
the only
sitting
one
there
doesn't care
quietly
about
doing nothing.
bulls.
I think you guys are just trying to put on a show for
So
people.
Paris,
Come on.
I'm going to really concentrate
Get it
now.
together.
Paris is Burning is a documentary about the ball culture of New York, where they would compete. It was these houses, and a house was like a lot of kids that were kicked out for being gay of their own homes or runaways, and they had no parental structure, no homes a lot of times. So they'd be taken in by these house mothers that would compete at balls in New York.
He said balls.
Well, first of all, it could be anywhere, but the documentary is about New York. And what a ball is these people compete. They call it walking in for trophies and fame, and it's a lot of prestige within the culture. But they are like dancing, and there are different categories like Butch Queen or Femme Queen, like to look the most like a woman.
Which category are you marching in?
Which category am I in?
Are you in?
Is there one for people that like to just sleep?
Naps.
Homeless person sleeping on the sidewalk?
Homeless.
Give me the biggest trophy
Homeless
for that
person
one.
realness. All right.
So the categories would be like I said, Butch Queen, Femme Queen, military, and very specific, like girl going to school.
Business person.
So they would walk through and try to look most like their topic, and if they won, they got this big trophy, and it was a big prestige for their house. And it was like they each had their name: House of Extravaganza, House of La Beja, House
Peppa
of
La Beja.
all kinds of different stuff. But this, I think it's such an interesting documentary because it shows these people that created their own culture, and they're very honest about it. They say the reason we compete like this and have these topics of where we're dressing up like we're successful and we're going on job interviews and all that is because we feel so left out of the system as it is. We're gay, mostly feminine, and minority, and they're basically living a life in this documentary, but on the whole culture in general, which still exists, the life that they want to have.
And what time period was this? Like
The documentary film was filmed in the 80s, mostly 87, 88, and it was released in 91. But the personalities are hilarious. And if you watch RuPaul's Drag Race, do you watch that, Tony? Of course not. What show do you watch? Some of it? And I know you do.
Yeah, I have to.
So a lot of the references, they brought back a lot of ball culture. Ball. Anyway, we'll discuss that in the after show. Balls. They brought back a lot of that culture because they reference it so much in RuPaul's Drag Race. Like they throw out somebody that you probably went over your head, like Bob the Drag Queen, who won I think season 7-ish, something like that. Had a single come out that was, let's see, walk into the club, purse first.
Was that Bob the Drag Queen?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
And
obviously I don't know.
Based on the excuse me. Based on the host of the ball saying like, it is a known fact that every woman do walk into the club handbag first. Like reading a woman who came in a category that was supposed to look really feminine. She ain't got no purse. She left her purse at home.
Purse first.
Purse first. So even that song that was like kind of what Bob the drag queen is known for is based on a quote from RuPaul's Drag Race. There's one girl that talks about, she's a woman except, well, you know what I have between me down there. But that's my little special secret. Which I think is hilarious. First of all, to call it between me down there, and second of all, call your penis your special secret.
She kept saying she wanted to be rich and what did she kept?
She was Venus Extravaganza. She just wanted to be taken care of.
No, but she kept saying something over and over again. What was it? I want to be rich.
Oh, well, okay. What she says was she called someone an oversized orangutan. Overgrown orangutan.
Overgrown orangutan.
Which is also referenced on RuPaul's Drag Race. So if you haven't seen the documentary, watch it. But it's fascinating not just because of the topic, but because the people are so real. They're so honest and real about how marginalized and how they feel like kind of left out of the system. There was a quote which I completely agree with, if you ever heard me rant on one of these podcasts, about how, I think it was Pepper LaBeija that talked about how if you're not white, straight, you're left out of the system. It's like white's way up top, everybody else way at the bottom. I happen to agree with that. But he was saying, because I feel like this, I get a lot of my confidence and a lot of the feelings I don't feel like I could be included in having from being in these balls and winning these giant trophies and having the fame and recognition and all that. So most of the show Pose, for instance, is based on the ball culture and Paris is Burning specifically. RuPaul's Drag Race brought it back a lot. But ball culture is where voguing came into play too. So, I mean, ball culture gave us, to me, one of the greatest songs in history, Vogue.
Vogue.
So, voguing, do y'all want to hear how voguing came about?
Yeah.
There was this house mother drag queen, I forget her name, something Dairy. But in the 1960s, somebody was throwing shade at her, so she went on the dance floor and pulled out a Vogue magazine, started acting like she couldn't be bothered, and she was just reading it, and then she threw it down on the dance floor and started doing like model poses, and it made such an impact. People started calling it voguing, and the whole point of voguing is to look like a model or to throw like passive aggressive shade. Yeah. Like there's the biggest voguer that's like the most famous person in that art form, because it really is the guy who'd pretend like he was like putting on makeup, like he can't be bothered with you, and his hand was the compact, and he would like turn it around and show you how busted you are, and he'd start doing your face. You know, it's subtle shade through dance. And Madonna got a lot of pushback because it's like you're appropriating, taking our culture. You know what you know about voguing? Well, what she knew is that her dancers would bring this style back. They were voguing because they knew the underground dance scene, and Madonna was all about, I mean, she was like an underground visionary before she came out. Yeah. So I can actually see her appreciating it and liking it, but they're kind of like, we've been doing this for, the ball culture bowl culture started in the 1890s.
Wow.
The gays getting together. And back then it was so segregated. Actually, no, I take that back. It was very integrated, like people of all, mostly it was black and white because the U.S. was less diverse back then. But all races came together and would have these competitions to where the men dressed as women, the women dressed as men, and they would have judges, like very much in the late 19th century is the way it is now. But the judges were white, so white people always won. Mm-hmm. So the minorities went and formed their own houses. It died out in the white culture. Because ball culture actually started out like as a white thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and now white people basically aren't doing it. It died out with them, and it was taken, kind of perfected and made huge and popularized by these people that still feel oppressed. And I think it's indicative of how, if you're white and gay, you can kind of, it's easier to lose those safe places or feel the need. It was the ball culture really took off when it got to the most oppressed disenfranchised communities because they still need it. Like, it's still thriving in Harlem and the Bronx and those places because it's still escapism, which we take for granted. We, as in people that look like me. Watch the documentary. You said you haven't seen it, Tony?
I have not.
Yes, you will love it.
No.
Or just watch Pose and see a modern interpretation of it. So the personalities on here are such interesting people. They're all like super sweet and, like I said, honest. Most of them died of AIDS. One of them, Venus Extravaganza, who was like the most quote worthy, she's the one that said, "Between me down, I just have, what I have between me down there, and that's my special secret." She also called somebody, "Oh, you're just an overgrown orangutan." She, while they were still filming it before it was released in 1988, she was found murdered. She had been strangled and stuffed underneath a hotel bed in a seedy hotel. And it's implied that it's because she's a hustler, is what she called herself.
Yeah.
It was probably a John.
Trans, huh?
And she was trans, yes. So
Yeah.
she was a trans prostitute. Another one, Dorian Corey, he died of AIDS, and when they went through his apartment, they found a body that had been there so long, wrapped in her belongings, it had been mummified. And it was the guy had been dead for 15 years, they found out, because they figured out who it was. And they think it was either an abusive boyfriend or a John or a thief. But her interviews were filmed in her apartment.
And that
So
mummy
every
was in
time I
there.
watch it, I'm like looking in the back for some toes or something hanging out from a blanket.
That's crazy.
And it didn't even stink. That thing had been there so long, she was confident enough to have a film crew come in
Yeah.
and interview her. I haven't seen this episode, but there's a Pose episode where, spoiler alert, turn it off if you're watching Pose.
You don't have to turn it off. Just turn the volume down.
Yeah, exactly. There's a dominatrix. This is inspired by Dorian on Paris is Burning. There's a dominatrix in the show who had a client that died, so she took him back to her apartment and hit her with a bunch of people. Brian, our number one fan, have you seen that? Oh, shoot, he hasn't watched it. But it's based on the true story of Dorian. Dorian Corey.
What did Dorian teach us?
How to hide a body, apparently.
Well, that and...
Would you tell me?
Didn't Dorian define shade and reading?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
She
this
went
is
through all the
important.
definitions. The only one I didn't know was mopping.
Oh, I don't know.
Is when
What is mopping?
Well, tell us them all. Let's give it to.
Mopping is stealing. Like, you have a competition. You're going to walk tonight in the bowl, and you need a coat or something. You go mop it from Macy's, boo. Which is stealing it. But she goes through a lot of the old school terms that we still use. Like, I don't think people know reading and shading has been around. The terms have been around forever, and she goes into the difference between reading and shading. Reading is basically insulting someone else. The way she described it was also interesting. I love to hear like the origins and the reasonings for things, and sometimes people are completely making up, but a lot of times it's the truth. She said the reason gays are so good at reading is because straights are out in the real world when they weren't around people like them would, call you a faggot typically, or queer or femme, girl, fairy, all those terms you heard. And there was this very sense of like, I'm better than you. With the gays, look, we're starting out equal.
Yeah.
We both like the same things between me down there. So you have to get specific and creative. So you're going to talk about that wig. You're going to talk them hips that don't match them shoulders,
Back rolls.
for the drag queens.
Why did you look at me when you said that?
So a lot of reading culture was the gays being like, well, I'm not going to say you take it up the butt as if it's, we're going to say thank you.
Yeah.
I did it 4 times today, depending on how often you log on to Grindr. But I thought that was interesting.
True.
And then she said her shading example was, shading is, I'm not going to tell you you're fat because you already know you're fat.
No, it's
Or something like
what
that.
did she say?
He's already put up a quote.
Shade comes from reading, and reading came first.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And then shade is I don't have to tell you you're ugly. Wait, what is it? Shade is I don't have to tell you you're ugly, but I don't have to tell you because you know you're ugly, and that's shade.
That one really hit home for me. Just kidding.
I'm trying to find the reading one. What is reading? Again, Spencer would be so upset because he's gonna listen to this thing, be yelling at the podcast.
Like,
Oh yeah.
oh my
Did Spencer?
God.
Did the intern give you a list of things we were supposed to talk about on Paris is Burning?
No, but he's gonna regret not having done that now.
Our nice friend listening from New Jersey, Josh, will definitely have some opinions about Paris is Burning.
We'll expect a quote, or a text, and we'll forward
Who is
it.
Josh?
He's the one who told you your gay
Hilarious.
card
Love him.
is revoked because you've never seen.
Do we know him,
As
or
it
he's
should
just
have
a
been.
listener? A random
No, we know
listener?
him. We like him. Don't say anything rude. We love him.
Josh used to be my work husband.
He's hilarious.
Oh, okay.
We would
Well,
go to lunch all the time.
Okay, Josh.
He is an encyclopedia of gay knowledge.
He is. I wish he was living here in Houston because, I mean, if we were looking for a replacement for anyone, not that we are,
Why did you look at me when you said that?
he would be good.
I'll take the package. Do I get a severance package?
You keep trying to do that. No.
You have your Friday nights free again.
No, all I did on Friday nights was sit at home with my dog. That's why I'm like glad to have this podcast.
Oh.
Your dog is like, all I do is sit home with my human.
He's like, thank God for this podcast. I have a Friday night off.
Someone else's human voice is here other than Tony's.
You're hired. Tony, this podcast is going to, if nothing else, it's going to find you a boyfriend, so don't you worry. Send them nudes to DMs.
Do y'all have any questions about ball culture or Paris is Burning?
So before, well, not so much, but that wasn't the
I'm
first.
basically an
like,
expert.
There, before Paris is Burning, there was a similar documentary, yeah, in the 60s or so.
Oh, what was it? I just watched it. I think you know because you just prompted me.
No, I was wondering if you knew because I thought
The Queen
The
or the
Queen.
Queens.
something like that. Okay.
It's called The Queens. I don't want to go too much to it because I want it to be its own topic.
No, I just
Pepper
saying,
LaBeija, who's all over this documentary, Paris is Burning, her drag mom, who founded the House of LaBeija, is in this 1968 or 69 documentary about a drag pageant that is so interesting because you're seeing like drag queens in the 60s.
And so the Queens took place in New York City, or what was the documentary about?
Yeah, it was
New York City. Okay.
with all those accents that I love. 90% of why I love Paris is Burning is those New York accents, where everything just sounds more hilarious and shady coming out of a. I don't have to read you because you already know you're disgusting, girl.
yeah, the accent. It's a good. I'm surprised though. I mean, it's not just because the gay thing, but I mean, you like documentaries. Like that's a classic one.
His power was turned off,
Yeah. I guess he didn't have TV.
The past,
You can-
which is
years.
rough for a power bomb.
You have TV now. Oh,
It
jeez.
is. I have to provide my own power.
Jeez. Never mind.
Like Tinkerbell has to flap her wings, you have to clap your booty to
Yeah.
regain your power.
Would you
And I
see?
keep doing it, but
You're hoping if you clap it enough, you're gonna, a Prince Charming will come to your rescue,
None but
Like my
frogs.
fill that hole. So would you say
Calm
wig is
down,
Ribbit.
the modern day kind of? Is that the? I mean, these aren't.
No, I
serious-
don't think we need to find a modern day Paris is Burning. Two completely different ones. Wig just came out too.
But I'm just saying, I'm not.
We're going to talk about Wig next week.
Oh, because we're gonna talk about Bun Bun.
Yes, because it's someone's birthday who's second only to Oprah in my list of favorite people.
Would you marry Bun Bun as Bun Bun?
You'll have to
Lady
tune in
Bunny.
next episode, next week.
We'll have to find out. about
Same
his
bat time.
lust. You know, Kendall. He does love an old white man. So, Lady Bunny.
Well, I feel like I'm inheriting their wisdom whenever things happen.
All right, we're gonna. Speaking of things happening, I think things are about to happen on the next topic. Are we ready to go? Did you
Yes.
finish talking about Paris is Burning?
Yeah.
All right. Kendall's gonna be burning for this one as well. But before we go
My penis is burning.
into that, let's talk about our friends at Economy Works who are sponsoring our podcast. Hey, did you know that the unemployment rate is below 4% in the U.S.? If you are trying to hire someone, then you probably already know that because you are having trouble finding quality candidates. Economy Works is here to help. Don't have time, energy, or the resources to hire? Economy Works is ready to help you write job descriptions, find candidates, review resumes, and phone screen candidates. Let the Economy Works Talent Network help you do more with less. Economy Works. When we work, the economy works. Find out more at economyworks.com. All right, so we're ready to talk about the next topic, which is
yes,
none other the lead in here. On August 4th, 1961. Barack Hussein Obama was born in Hawaii.
Allegedly. Just
Allegedly.
kidding. Yes, he was born there.
Born to a mother from Kansas and a father from
What?
From Kenya. Obama was raised with the help of his grandparents, whose generosity of spirit reflected their Midwestern roots. That was from his website. Obviously, we know President Obama as the first black American president who was elected on November 4, 2008, to become the 44th president of the United States, winning more votes than any candidate in history. So that was I didn't know that. He took office, as his website notes, at a moment of crisis, unlike any America had seen in decades. A nation at war, a planet in peril, the American dream itself threatened by the worst economic calamity since the Great Depression.
I would say that's kind of true, though, because...
It is true.
Like, we were in the middle of a war, but then also, like, that was the greatest financial crisis since the Great Depression, and it was the first time in history that the previous administration and the incoming administration was like, let me have your advisors, to get through this. And so I would agree with, even though it was from his website.
1968 could also, that could be considered a horrible time. But the thing about the late 60s that was different than 2008 was that it was like a lot of tension, but there were people in the streets reacting to it and changing and saying, nope, not anymore.
Wait,
so
in
there
the
are,
60s or
yes,
in
the
2008?
60s. Well, I'm
Okay,
saying because if we're going to say it's arguably the most stressful time or whatever since, I forget, because I wasn't really paying attention. I was looking at,
as per usual,
one of these dogs.
Yeah. No, but I feel like, well, go ahead.
No, Tony, I lost my train of thought.
What?
Just kidding. No, I can always. So the 60s, where there was a lot of turmoil and people were getting assassinated left or right, and there was a war going on, and there was civil rights issues and all this stuff. Yes, that was awful, but the thing that's great about 1968 is that it was a turning point for so many people that said, I've had it, no more. And we didn't really have that in 2008, other than something very huge, which Barack Obama was elected because George W. Bush, the establishment, was such trash. We're laughing because Martha is
that when you hear in the background,
chiseling ice out of the refrigerator.
Martha is our intern's intern this week.
She's playing the part of intern.
She's getting the drink.
So we couldn't hear her on her quiz show she guested on, but we sure hear 3 rooms over.
Thank you. Okay.
So, but in 2008, there wasn't, it was just sadness. There was not that sense of, we're going to change everything, except one of the biggest things. I really do think Barack Obama won because it was such a terrible time.
Yeah. What?
Just like Donald Trump. Barack Obama gave us Donald Trump because it's the fear of a certain huge segment of the population to 8 years of a black man being president. It's like, I could go on about this for hours, but it's basically a huge chunk of this country. Huge, I mean, he won with 46% of the vote. But it was a huge reaction to people saying, we just had a black man, we got to get together as president, we have to get together and stop this. And if we need to stop with the little hinting at racism, let's just put it all out there, embrace it, because times are dire and we might have another one of those people in the White House again. Lord willing, to me, Kamala Harris, 2020, please.
You think Kamala Harris will want President Harris will want Trump's advisors in the transition?
No, I feel the reason that George Bush offered them and Barack Obama wanted them was the financial crisis. It was literally all of America was like, am I going to lose my savings account?
They did.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it could have been my $500 in the bank right now that I can go to the ATM. That's why I feel it was such a dire time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, in terms of the times, the 60s were different because I was actually had a talk the other day. We were talking about generational differences of baby boomers. I'm like, baby boomers, they grew up in the 60s, right, during civil rights and the Vietnam War, and they protested and they saw progress happen. So in their mind, it was like, if you just work hard, results will happen. And I don't think that folks see that now. I mean, they see a lot of it out of control.
I think we can pinpoint 1968 as a culminating year. It was centuries of lead up, and 1968 was the right time.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, you had folks that said, regardless of whether it was time or whatever, people felt at that time like we went out and protested and things happened. Civil rights changes happened. Vietnam War eventually ended, right? The president resigned because there were pressure, from the public doing things, right, protesting. And so I think those things happen, and I don't see that happening today. I mean, well, there is some movement. It's just not as we're not seeing the progress.
Part of the reason we don't have to do it is because they did the dirty work, the hard work for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, right, that what we're dealing with, I think some of the discussion now with like Trump in the kind of the racist allegations are that the whole MAGA thing, right? It's like, let's be great again. Well, it was only great. I mean, yes, we passed civil rights laws in the 60s, but not a lot. Legally things changed, but there was still that bias in the culture that prohibited people from, not prohibited, but made it harder for people to get promoted or raised or, get into colleges and those sorts of things.
Buy a home, live.
Buy a home, yeah.
I always want to say, anytime someone says "Make America Great Again" or wears the hat or the T-shirt, what time, what specific year would you like to be transported back to?
I feel like a lot of the people that are like, "Let's make America great again," are white people that are like, "Let's go back to the 1920s or whatever." That it's like, let's make
women couldn't vote.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But one thing that I do think about the current political environment, because we talk about what matters, like because Hillary Clinton was like, well, you have to like work from the inside, but then some people like protests matter. I do feel like both matter. I feel like if you protest but nobody's on the inside working for you, it doesn't work, and then vice versa. But
you need both.
You do need both. And one thing that I do feel is sometimes if you're oppressed a little bit, you really don't, you're like, whatever. But the more you're oppressed, I feel like where a lot of progress is made is when people are like, fuck this. And we talked about that with like the, Compton's riot and the Stonewall riot. Like people just, okay, I'll pay off the cops, I'll go to jail, whatever. And then they're like, they get to a point where they're like, fuck this, I'm not going to take this anymore. And so I kind of wonder with all of these abortion laws going into, if people, because obviously if every eligible woman voter voted for Hillary, we wouldn't be here. Not that she was a perfect candidate, but, for women's issues, I feel she was better than Trump, obviously. But, like, if people are suppressed to the point where they're like, okay, enough is a fuck enough, makes you wonder if there's not going to be...
Well, what's very interesting about Obama is that he got 7% more vote in 2012 among African Americans than Hillary Clinton did. You could say Barack Obama won the presidency because of the increased Democratic, aka African American, vote turnout. Here you have hundreds of years of history to where black vote is oppressed, and it's not an advantage to be a black man. And now it can be argued that he got that same Democratic coalition out, plus a huge increase of African American. He won because he was black, in a sense. If you look at, I'm not saying that as like I'm saying in the sense of that's a huge thing for America. As much as I complain about where it's not, the fact that it was potentially a plus that he was black because it really ramped up the minority voter turnout. I love About Time, and I hope Kamala Harris uses the same coalition.
I agree, because, like, we're minorities, and so, there's just something about, like, being a minority and, like, having somebody who is your own minority. And, like, so I could imagine just being a black person when he was going to be the first black president, where it's like people that probably hadn't voted forever, like, I'm going to go vote.
Well, and a lot of the dirty tricks they did of saying he wasn't American because his dad was from Africa, so he wasn't even. And this is within the black community too. There was, he's not black enough for us.
Well, there were some people that in...
But they're doing that to Kamala Harris, was my point. They're doing it to Kamala Harris, whose mom was born in India and dad was born in Jamaica, and they're sowing the seeds of, well, she's not a real African-American.
Well, there were some people in, like, 2012 that were like, I voted for him. my life isn't any better. So I'm like black people that were like, I'm not going to vote for him again because my life's not any better. Like there was this barber in, I think, Wisconsin. He was interviewed. And in 2008, he took his little kid with him to vote. He goes, son, we're going to vote for the first black president, blah, blah, blah. And then in 2012, he's like, my life's not any better. I'm not going to vote for him. Just not going to vote, period. But
That's a normalization. That's what happens when you get rights. That's the thing about we talked about this in previous episodes. Gays fought so hard for so many rights, and now they've kind of become apathetic in some regards because I got what I wanted for myself.
yeah.
That's why trans rights are so like the issue amongst LGBT right now, because they're kind of the stragglers that we have not fought for as much as gay marriage, because we can benefit from that. But what about transgendered people that were fighting for our rights? Where are we for them? But it's the same kind of thing. Pete, you know what? Pete Buttigieg, it would not be so radical to me for him to be president because I've seen Tammy Baldwin, because I've seen Barack Obama, who broke the mold, because I've seen so many people. That's a good thing that I'm not like ecstatic that there's the possibility a gay man could be president. But it also you lose some of that venom and power that a minority group has when they're fighting, all on the same page. They think, okay, I got what I wanted, marriage. I can stop now.
So you think that? So what? You think minorities won't turn out or don't turn out as much because now they've seen Barack Obama? I mean, I think
No. I was speaking specifically to his friend that wanted to see the first African American president, and then 4 years later, he's like, well, it hasn't positively impacted me. There's that. That's the thing about as we gain more, or all groups, minority groups, gain more equality, the bar kind of changes, and some of that deep coalition of people that were all fighting as outsiders starts to dissipate and kind of bleed out.
And there's only so much the president can do, and I feel like, so that was just a news interview. I saw, so there was literally a barber in Wisconsin that said, I voted for him in 2008, took my little kid, said, hey, we're voting for the first black president. And then he was like, my life's not very much better, so I'm not going to vote again.
But I mean, that's at that point, you get past the novelty of this is the first black or woman or whatever, and you start to say, well, now you have to do your job. And are you doing your job? Well, we were having this discussion just last night about a artist that's very popular, Lizzo, who I love, right? And so I love Lizzo.
Didn't sound like it last night.
And so my point was, everyone loves Lizzo and all the power she brings to her performances, which I agree, I think is amazing. But she also runs out of breath by the end of her performance.
She doesn't.
On some performances I've seen, and it's like, okay, like if Beyonce were doing that, would we have the same reaction? I mean, we give Lizzo a lot of credit because she's a big woman, embracing her body, and I think that's beautiful. But I'm saying is like, instead if Beyonce were to run out of breath at the end of her performance, or J-Lo or anyone, people would be like, and so why? Well, but let me take this
because I don't think I love Lizzo's music.
Yeah, me too.
I don't see as a big woman making big woman strides. Her music is awesome. I think I don't care about the other
she's
stuff.
Getting a lot of hype because of that. Like so my point is the same thing you could argue with Barack Obama as the first black president. Everyone's like, yeah, let's vote for and then it's all of a sudden like, now you have to do a job. It's great that you're a black man who's our president, but are you going to create more jobs? Are you going to give me health care? Are you going to save the environment? And so people start to detract and say, okay, well, I voted and, I got more of the same in terms of what politicians do.
Should I tell my Barack Obama story that I told on like episode 2?
That you have a crush on him? And
well, I used to have a crush on him.
And then what happened?
Martha, have you heard this? I used to have a crush on Barack Obama. Sexy man. First of all, his topless Hawaii pictures are not that cute. Okay. But, I mean, hey, his body's choice. He's a beautiful man. But
body
anyway,
shaming.
So when I was an EMT, and I hope I'm not breaking any HIPAA laws describing this situation. I'm not, just kidding. There was this patient that looked exactly like Barack Obama, but he was like 20 years older. I mean, the gray hair, the face, everything
he looked like
about
Obama
him.
at the end of his presidency.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then he stood up naked. And honey, that penis. I don't know what happened.
So,
okay.
so Barack Obama married Michelle Obama, who was our awesome first lady. They have 2 daughters, Malia, who's attending Harvard. She just turned 21, and Sasha, who's graduated high school recently, going to University of Michigan. So it's crazy. Like they started off as tiny little girls, and now they are off to college. So that's fun.
Remember when you were tiny little girls?
Yes.
Yes.
Playing with my Cabbage Patch dolls and Barbie.
Now you're an old maid.
I was watching an episode of Will and Grace the other day, and Karen was like, I remember when I was a boy. I mean, did I say I was a boy? I meant a girl. Yeah, I was a girl. So, anyways, I can watch Will and Grace now that Spencer's out of town, so I can go to bed to that.
Oh, does he not like it, or you watch it so much?
I just watch it all the time, and he's like,
And it was announced either yesterday or today that...
Don't say it.
Yeah.
All right.
Not another season after the third.
The third one. All right. So Barack Obama, he was known to many as Barry Obama growing up. Was kind of a cool dude, but a nerd also, right? He went to Occidental College and then transferred to Columbia University, where he graduated. Spent some time as a community organizer, and then went to Harvard Law School, where he was president of the Harvard Law Review. And so that was a big kind of his first big win there. Then he moved to Chicago, and moved back to Chicago, was a lecturer at the University of Chicago, was also a lawyer for a period of time, working for a firm that specialized in civil rights litigation, and wrote a couple books. Dreams from My Father was one of them. You guys read that?
Yes.
What about The Audacity of Hope?
Oh, wait, no, not that one. The other one I did.
What did you think about the books?
He wrote it. He did poetry, and he was a writer in college. Like, writing has always been huge for him. And if you read the books, it's from an soft-hearted, sensitive man's point of view. Like, I can see him liking poetry. He used to write poetry, too, and submit it to literary journals. It's very well written. It's very... Like, he could have been a writer. But he describes it. I think it's even if you take the fact that he was president out of it, the book is so fascinating. The thing I like about Barack Obama, his presidency, he can have a different name. Just his life story of him being president is that it's the America that we all pretend like we live in. It's a melting pot where every person came here and has equal opportunity and all that kind of. No. Refer back to previous episodes where I said this country was founded for a very specific subsect of people, and only that. And every single right any other group has ever had and will ever have is because people died, fought, risked everything they had in their lives just to get a little bit of that American dream, which is the white American dream. So for Barack Obama, who's not just a black man, but he's, like, you could say him being biracial, half white, could be a deterrent. Like, he's not authentically black to a lot of black people. He's what kind of white woman marries a Kenyan to the white people? I think it was even more radical that he was biracial, that he became president. But the fact that his stepdad was Muslim in 2008, which was a very much in the middle of the Iraq War, and it was extra Islamophobic, we'll say.
And you had like the whole birther controversy that was
started by Hillary Clinton.
But to me, he wasn't just a black man. He was like a radical, unique, lived all over the world, which is threatening for some reason to a lot of Americans to be international. They made John Kerry look like he was president of France. They made him look like Pepe Le Pew because he spoke some jumbled French.
But, I would say the difference there is, so, Barack Obama had those things against him, but the things that I think, and I think this is why he was elected, like, he is a very good orator, public speaker, very much an ideas person, and he can get up there and, like, energize crowds, convey those ideas, things like that. Versus, some of these people that were just, like, ingrained in politics, whatever. But I think that like that's one of the things that like got him elected. Like,
Well, and I think the biggest thing that got him elected was his personality, because he could never be caricatured as the angry black man,
He was
which
too cool.
scares to death a lot of people, because
Yeah.
it's an easy caricature
yeah.
to where you can say they deserve whatever I give them because they're just an angry,
'Cause,
troublemaking.
Yeah, because I
boy.
do feel like,
He never fit into that category.
like you said, like he was mixed, and so some black people may be like, you know, like not for him or whatever. But
So, Dreams from My Father, though, that you guys read that book and liked that. You said it was a good book. I never
Amazing
read it.
book.
Yeah.
You watch it? You listen to it? You read it?
No, you did not.
You
Oh,
acted it out in the play?
Gotcha. Oh,
Yes.
But didn't you say that was kind of his talking about his, his reconciling his kind of
It's such an
biracialness and
honest,
without being
raw.
without a dad.
Like I said, take the fact that he was elected to anything. It's a man's like pouring out his issues, his fears, about frustrations.
About what?
He feels very otherworldly about being not only biracial, but growing up in a place like Hawaii, he says it was a good thing, but it's diverse. But he wasn't around many people that look like him, especially in his private school that he went to. He moved to Indonesia, to where he was basically the only American. He felt rejected by his African dad, who they divorced when he was very, very young, and I think he visited once. It's the struggle of, and I completely get it, even though it has not affected me, I understand the concept of people that we put people in categories because it's lazy and easy for us to stereotype them. Every single person stereotypes. Every does. So how do you categorize Barack Obama? He's not black enough for some people, and he's not white enough for anyone.
yeah,
He does not seem American growing up as biracial in Hawaii.
And that all came out in the book.
Yes.
Yep.
So thank you for getting me back on track. So the book to me is like a raw, like, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm figuring out who I am, period. I don't think he thought this is the intro to me becoming president in I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
It's just a well-written story of how someone struggles trying to figure out who they are.
Sure. So he started his political career when he ran and was elected to the state senate in Illinois in 1996, and he was in that role until 2004. Obviously, a couple of elections between 96 and 2004. He did make a bid for a run for the House rep slot in Illinois, or one of them in 2000, but he lost. And then ran for the U.S. Senate to represent Illinois in 2004. And so that's when he was elected and became a senator. Obviously, that year he had the big keynote speaker role at the DNC, and that gained him a lot of popularity and notoriety. And then he then went on in 2008 to run for president. He snatched that Democratic nomination from Hillary Clinton, who was supposed to get it. And he was running with some other big names. Joe Biden was running that year. So was John Edwards, who was the VP candidate in 2004. And then so he won the Democratic nomination, as we all know. And then he beat John McCain and Sarah Palin, and with a good margin of 53% to 47%, when he had over 69 million
that's
votes.
a lot, yeah.
So 69 million votes, 10 million more than John McCain, and 365 electoral votes. So a big deal. Interestingly enough, it's not that interesting. How many times did you hear him talk about his electoral victory and the number of electoral votes he won and all that sort of stuff?
Well, no president has to do that except your boy.
The current one, not my boy.
Exactly.
Don't pin him to me. Of course, he ran for re-election in 2012 and beat Mitt Romney in a narrow margin, but still by 4 percentage points, 51-47%. Had 65 million votes and 332 electoral votes. I mentioned that again because you hear Trump talk about his electoral wins all the time, the biggest in history. Why are we talking about him, though? I mean, obviously he was a good president that I think we all agree that we liked, especially when you compare him to Trump. But he had a significant impact on the LGBT community. One of his key achievement as president, non-LGBT related, but does have a tie to LGBT, was the Affordable Care Act. People refer to it as Obamacare. I never liked the term Obamacare because the Republicans bastardized that and made it seem like an awful thing. So when I would get notes from the DNC about, hey, contribute to our party, I'm like, I'm not going to contribute because you keep calling it Obamacare.
But he also said, I'm proud to have it tagged Obamacare because I kind of did this.
Well, no, I agree. Like, after his presidency, I'm like, call it Obamacare all you want, but they have bastardized that term. But obviously now we're looking at it in 2018, and that was a key issue for folks in terms of some of the provisions that are benefits that the Affordable Care Act provides. And so, it's come to be a big winner. And of course, the Republicans, as much as they've campaigned against it, they haven't been able to come up with an alternative, even though they had both houses and the president.
Right.
So they really muffed that one. But nonetheless, the unfortunate thing is that case is circulating around again in the Supreme Court, or heading up potentially to the Supreme Court. So
what did Barack Obama do that was LGBT friendly?
Yeah. So we're getting there, right? ACA is one of them, because what that did is basically told insurers that they can no longer turn someone away just because they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. So that was a big win for the LGBT community. He was also, early in his presidency, passed the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act, which was where the president worked with Congress to pass this law, which extended the coverage of federal hate crimes to include to include sexual orientation and gender identity protections. So that was a big win. He also passed a memorandum, signed a memorandum in 2009, which expanded federal benefits, which we talked about in a previous episode, expanded federal benefits for certain federal benefits for same-sex partners. Federal is becoming my
Bull culture.
Bull. Yes.
Boil.
A couple other things he did: Medicare, Medicaid. He made sure that just about every hospital in America allowed visitation rights for LGBT patients. So that was a big one.
That was a big deal, actually, when it happened.
Well, and he came out for same-sex marriage. His famous "I evolved."
Yeah, even though he was for it before 2008, but then pivoted back to
lied on a
So he was the first president to be out for that. It passed or issued an executive order which prohibited federal contractors from discriminating against any employee or applicant based on the usual things like race, religion, but also included sexual orientation and gender identity, which also, companies like I used to work for had to adhere to that. So
those we will not speak of.
They started to extend same-sex benefits to same-sex partners, which was a big win because that didn't happen. So again, I worked for this company and they didn't. I could never. Even if I was married, I couldn't have benefits for my partner. And so with this executive order, they now had to issue that. He also was a president to recognize LGBT sites, so he designated them as landmarks and historic places, which we've talked about. Compton with being one of them, big. He was the first to come out, as Kendall noted, for gay marriage, first president to do that. And he also addressed LGBT rights in the inaugural address. So in 2012, when he won his second bid, he said, "We the people declare today the most evident of truth, that all of us created equal is a star that guides us still, just as it guided our forebears through Seneca Falls and Selma and Stonewall." So it was Stonewall he was comparing to Selma and Seneca Falls. And then he also noted, "Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law." So, that was a big thing. I remember being there, Kendall and I, and we talked about our friend Josh. We went to that second inauguration where he spoke about that, and that was pretty remarkable. I just remember being on a cold January day, standing on the National Mall and listening to the president speak to, there I was with my partner at the time, Kendall, and one of my good gay friends, and we're listening to the president talk about LGBT rights. So, it was an awesome, even though we were freezing our tail off, it was an awesome event to be.
We haven't found our tail since.
But you remember that, Kendall, being at the inauguration where
so freaking cold, but at the same time it was fascinating for me. I'm a history buff, love anything, especially presidential history. And the fact that we were watching that specifically, knowing how people at the time and to this day trashed him. Here we have one of the most scandal-free presidents ever in our entire history. Very little we can pin on him.
Right.
That's negative, intentionally negative. But people at the time acted like he was Satan. And now they think that's how we treat Trump.
Right.
So we're so...
I don't even want to talk about compare the two because it's just it's so frustrating.
I did love Celebrity Apprentice though. I wish you'd bring that back.
I was going to bring that up in the question during the quiz show, but I didn't want to talk about him, so didn't want us to go off on a rant during our fun quiz show. But yeah,
President, that man, we will not speak of.
But that said, remember the event, as cold as it was supposed to be colder. I remember we were preparing for the worst, but it was cold, but not as cold as it was supposed to be. But we were there, but we were looking at the address on a big screen.
Well, that's because we had the burning flames of Satan in our heart.
True. Because we're gay and we're burning to hell. No, they
tweet me down there.
We were watching it. You need to get that checked. We were watching it on a big screen, so we didn't get to see him, but it was.
Yeah, we had the IMAX tickets version.
Right, but you had everyone there, and it was just kind of cool to be part of that big special event.
Yeah, and the fact that he would say that publicly versus George Bush was. Not pro-LGBT, but then Clinton was very middle of the road, right? He had to be political about it, and so the fact that he was.
However, Barack Obama took credit for. I don't know if he takes credit for. He does not correct the fact when people were he passed same-sex marriage. No, he didn't. The Supreme Court did.
Right.
Yeah.
He did not. But don't ask, don't tell. He was the
don't ask, don't tell. Huge. Huge.
That was something he was legislative action that obviously he wasn't legislative, but the president that signed the bill for that.
Yeah.
So.
And people were ready for that far earlier, but
yeah. But
and the whole Medicare Medicaid thing, when people could visit their partner in the hospital, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal.
I think one of the biggest things for me, in terms of what he did for the LGBT community while he was president, though, is he had some really hot Secret Service people guarding the White House.
Oh, you and I took a tour
men and women.
The White House grounds, and you could not stop.
You gays.
They were men and women.
Disgusting.
Regardless, they were both. They were. Yeah, and I've been back to DC since. And
we should be outlawed again.
The folks that
I know
that are guarding Trump, not so much.
Y'all are so shallow.
So they're not as.
The lesbians are not shallow.
They're not as cute as
Gloria and I are
the
not
folks
shallow.
were. So. Barack Obama, though, I do miss him. I do miss DC now talking about that. So Martha, you're gonna load me in your Jeep. So I'm going back with you.
Yeah.
All right. So
boy, do we miss him.
Well,
all right, Tony,
come on, talk to us a little bit about Andy Warhol.
Tony. Okay, so yeah, so Andy Warhol was born this week in 1926. Andy Warhol, I'm sure most of our listeners know who he was. He's kind of iconic. His appearance.
Well, all our listeners are in this room. Brian, do you know who Andy Warhol is?
Absolutely no clue.
No, he has no clue. Martha.
Yes.
50% of people, judging by our survey, 50% of people have heard of him.
Brian, have you ever seen the pop art of the Campbell soup cans?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
It all came back to him now.
Well, you never know. You never know.
Talking about Basquiat, his gay lovers.
We can talk about that.
The Peanut Gallery
Was
is
he?
just screaming things.
Yes.
Get that man. We can't afford 4 mics, Ben. I'm sorry. Ben. Brian, I called you my boyfriend who's out of town.
So Andy Warhol, I'm pretty sure everyone knows who he is. He was kind of iconic his art was definitely iconic, but his appearance, was kind of also iconic. You saw him and you thought, okay, you just know who he is. So it's kind of interesting how he got into art, similar to Frida. He had a
unibrow?
He did. No. He was feminine. He did not have a unibrow. But when he was a kid, he was about 7 or 8. He had a major liver disease where he was bedridden. And so his mom, kind of would draw with him. That's how he learned how to draw. And that's when he got into art. And so he was after that. He really got into art during that time. And his mom would teach him how to draw and things like that. And then he was also, at the time, just obsessed with movie stars. And he would cut their pictures out of magazines, whatever. And so that kind of was the seed that planted. And so he had, been interested in art after that. And then he went to college, he studied art, went to New York. And so his art is kind of interesting because, the pop art movement it had just kind of been emerging right when he moved to New York. And his first few jobs in New York, he was like, to draw advertisements and things like that. He was a shoe designer where he would like draw, what he thought would be good shoes, and then people would make them. And all of his drawings kind of had like a very poppy flair to it. And so he's kind of credited with taking pop art to the mainstream because it was just emerging, and he like really, made it like common for the masses, I guess. But it's kind of interesting because, a lot of artists, they are very, this is my art, I don't want to change it, From day one, he was like, I want to be rich, I want to be famous through my art.
Respectable.
Yes, and so...
That's
He
what
had the
Kendall
quote,
said.
everybody has their 15 minutes of fame, or what is it?
I don't know.
But that's Kendall's approach.
Oh, in
on-
the future,
on the
everyone will have
podcast.
15 minutes of fame.
But he...
I had it last week at the Eagle and didn't recognize my fame.
Obviously.
And
Again, we
now,
hope you guys
my
are
fame's gone.
listening. Thank
you're
you.
like from the Gay Stuff Podcast.
If you let us know who you are, we'll send.
I think he thought I was a porn star, and he
We'll
was
send you.
different.
He told
cast.
you.
Was he
to
hitting on
talk
you?
about gay stuff.
Is that
No.
why you're a porn star?
No. He was
Yeah.
sweet. Please come back.
Hit us up if you are. Let's talk about gay stuff at
Yes.
gmail.com.
Please
Let
come
us
back.
know.
Please come back.
We will. We'll send you an apology note or something.
Yeah.
You'll be our special guest star.
But he, so as far as his art is concerned,
The porn edition.
one thing too, like, his thing was, when he was making art, sometimes it wasn't perfect, and he was like, I don't care. This is part of the art process. I'm selling it. And so it was kind of weird because a lot of artists are like, I'm not going to compromise my standards. I want to make money. Some people are like, oh, these are my standards. But
Now, explain to our listeners what standards are.
well, we don't have them, so we can't
We don't
really
know.
explain
None
them.
of us
Yeah.
have them.
If you know what standards
Yeah.
are,
Have you heard this podcast?
call in. We're ready.
We don't have any standards.
But so he very much stuck to his, this is my art. I'm not going to like try to make it perfect or anything, but he was also able to like, make a lot of money. But I think when you look at Andy Warhol, you think like, he must have been kind of a weird character. You just look at his appearance and whatever, and he had like a lot of crazy shit happen to him. Like he was, so for years, his apartment, no matter where it was, it changed physical locations, but his apartment was known as the factory, and it was kind of like a 24/7 party. Anybody was welcome, porn stars, drag queens, druggies, anybody was welcome. The reason it was the factory is because he was like, I'm going to make art, but I'm going to replicate that art because I want to sell it to the masses because I want to make a lot of money. And so everybody that was like, hey, I'm going to come to your house and party, it was like, you're also going to work. We're going to replicate this stuff. But he was actually, because he was in New York in the 60s, 70s, when drag queens really weren't accepted in gay culture. Like, they, were kind of, And at his place, everybody was accepted. Druggies, drag queens, no matter who you were. So he was kind of like, and he actually did drag himself. His
What was his drag name?
His drag name was Druella, which was a combination of Dracula and Cinderella.
All right.
But he was kind of
Martha's drag king name is Rex My Ass.
What's your
Ooh.
what's your drag name?
What are you
Rex
doing
my
later,
ass.
Martha?
What's your Rex my What's your drag name, Kendall?
There he is, Rex My Ass.
Tony, come on.
I'm looking for Rex my ass here.
Again, you can send nudes to the DM.
Give us suggestions.
Come on. I have a drag.
No.
My drag name is gonna be Jenny Tonics. No, anyone?
Jenny
All right,
Tonics?
come on,
Oh,
give me some.
okay.
Give me some.
All right. So she likes to drink.
Woof.
Smokey O'Hara. Come on, drag names. You've never thought of this?
Well, if we did the whole old school drag, what's your first pet and first street you lived on? Mine sounds very, very. It's more. I'm bored to meet a drag queen if
Okay.
it's
well,
Kibby Esplanade.
Kibby Espen.
Does it get any gayer than that? I'm asking you as a gay man.
Since you're not really gay.
That's
Are you gay?
I just want something.
Are you gay?
I want something cheeky, like Visa declined or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that was cute. So the well,
Or like
first
our
of all,
really good friend
I don't wanna talk
Dixie
about
Wreck.
Dixie Wrecked, yeah.
Dixie
Wrecked is, by the way, going to be on a
Dixie Wrecked.
the drag off show at Guava Lamp. So check out Dixie. Shout out to
Yes.
Dixie.
her drag obituary,
Yeah.
because I am dead.
What is your drag name? Oh, it's Kevin. Yeah. Come
Well, you
on.
know what? Why don't you name me? I feel like you're fishing for something.
No, no.
Maybe I don't have
I
the
don't.
talent to
Tony,
give you right now.
yours. Quickly.
I have no idea what
Come
it would
on.
be.
Lady Montana. I like it.
Hannah Montana.
Hannah.
Hannah Montana. No,
Ha-
it needs
Hansy
to be sluttier.
Montana
It
or
needs to be
something like
like Hannah Montana, but slutty.
Hansy Montana.
Hansy Montana. Oh, will you?
I suck.
Pause.
No one can hear. Say what she's saying. Say what our listeners are saying.
I can't repeat the things that comes out
I'll
of
suck
Martha's
it
mouth.
in the bathroom. Like, well, pause.
Toes.
Yeah.
Martha.
Toes,
jeez.
because that's what toddlers do. Okay? And this is a family-friendly podcast.
Yeah. Haven't you heard? All right, Tony. Sorry.
Anyway, so, Andy Warhol was he was kind of instrumental in, like, within his circle, making
circle
drag
jerk.
queens accepted. It's like, everybody's accepted.
They weren't even drag
here.
queens. He hung out with a lot of transgender.
Oh, everybody,
whatever.
yeah,
The
yeah,
terminology they
yeah.
use is the same. There was one girl, Candy, that was like one of the most famous transgender people that was in his movies.
Candy Burris? No, I'm kidding.
No.
It's a Real Housewife.
Candy Spelling? No.
Mm.
Candy Cane? No. Nose Candy? Yeah.
That was it.
No, Candy
There was a
something.
lot of that done at his place, I'm sure.
And you know where he went all the time, which is something you learned about last week? He was a fixture of Studio 54.
I'm sure.
No
Yeah, I'm
CD.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Like his like the factory, like
What
his
have we seen?
his apartment was. I mean, everybody went there. Like Madonna went there, Liza Minnelli, Mick Jagger.
To his factory.
But they all went to pay homage and to rub
Well, it was his apartment.
off
It was
on
called
him.
the Factory, but it was like a 24/7 party. Like pretty much his apartment was 24/7 party.
He was
It
a fad to a lot of celebrities.
Yeah.
So
A fag?
a fad, F-A-D, D-D-D.
Yeah.
You know about that D, D-D-D-D-D. So he was a fad to a lot of these celebrities that were like, this is the guy of the moment. And part of that daring kind of, oh my God, he's so risque, is that he was gay.
Yeah.
That he
Yeah.
was femme. That he did allow people on the outskirts of society to be there.
Yeah.
That was like shocking now. Now it's called Andy Cohen's Clubhouse.
Oh.
Andy
Be-
Cohen's Watch What Happens
But,
Live.
it is interesting because I mean, it was like everybody's open, whatever. But then also, he was also a filmmaker, so he actually produced like 60 films over.
Okay,
his
he
career.
produced 60 films, but has anyone seen any of them?
Well,
You can release a
please let
sex
me
video and
finish?
call it a film.
Thank you. But yeah,
That's not the
literally,
first time you've
some
heard
of
that.
his films were like people would be having sex in the corner, and he would film that, and
Oh.
or
That's
somebody
what,
would be.
That's what Kendall does.
What if you live in a
at the
circular
Eagle at the gay
room? Where
bar.
do you do it?
But yeah, so it was kind of a crazy. Yeah, it was kind of a crazy
TP.
place.
Wow.
If you live in a teepee, where do you have sex in the corner of the room? Like any closeted man does. Does anyone here
You don't.
ever lived in a teepee? Brian, if you lived in a teepee, okay, if you had to have sex in the corner because you were ashamed, yeah, so I guess you would just be high
Where
and
would you
dry.
have sex?
Wherever, outside, inside.
Inside, outside.
Outside.
Ew,
Brian's
inside,
like, I don't
of
give a
course.
fuck. I'll have sex anywhere.
Of course, the gay man
Yeah.
would say I'd have sex on the inside.
Oh, all right.
All right,
Tony,
anyway.
come on.
So, okay, so another interesting thing about him is he always claimed to be a virgin.
I believe that. He reminds me of Tim Gunn. Tim
Well,
Gunn.
Okay,
Gum.
so here's the interesting thing. So he always claimed to be a virgin, and a few years before his death, he was in his 50s, and somebody interviewed him, and he had claimed in that interview to be a virgin, and the interviewer said, after listening to him, I really do feel it was true, and he said, any sex I've had has been very abstract, which made the interviewer think,
He shit himself.
it was voyeurism or masturbation. Like, he had all these parties,
he couldn't find the corner of the room.
But there were a lot of people that said, no, I
He's
had
a
sex
TP.
with him. And, like, there was a somebody had said,
Yeah, but
like,
of course they're claiming that. Guys, breaking news, I had sex with Andy Warhol. I was the first in Andy's Warhol.
were you like 4?
I was like worn up, used out by then.
So who knows? Like, he claimed he was. There were a lot of people that said
I was hanging over a white picket fence.
and there was there was a case where he was treated in a New York hospital for having an STD. So who knows if he was a virgin or not?
Or he just sits on the toilet sheets.
After those parties that he had, those wild parties he had.
One time, he could have stepped on it and got it. Like one time, Kendall and I were out at a gay bar in New York City, and some guy said something to him,
My God.
and he says,
Said something to me?
Yeah, he said something to you. He's like, "Oh my God, because you were looking at your shoes." I think he said, "Is everything okay?" You're like, "Oh my gosh, I thought I stepped on a lesbian. I thought it had it on my shoe."
No, you completely twisted that.
Okay, what did he say?
To get to the
I
bar,
was throwing it up.
No, okay. Let me correct the record, sir. To get to the bar, I had to step over a lesbian who was having a coke seizure on the floor, which is apropos for gay bars. And then I thought I stepped on her maybe, and the gay guy was like, "I like your shoes," and I looked at the bottom and said, "Oh, do I have lesbian on the bottom of them?" Because I had stepped on this coke convulsing lesbian in New York.
There was no cold, whatever. Anyways, but you said the line was there, so
Yeah.
Tony.
You thought I stepped in a puddle of.
So a couple more things about Andy Warhol. He actually had a murder attempt against him, which was very serious. So, he was known for having all these parties, whatever. So there was this like radical feminist who she wrote this manifesto that pretty much called for the complete elimination of all men. So was
it Martha D. Doyle?
Martha D.
Our
Doyle.
lesbian listener.
From Louisiana. She showed up in New York.
Slaughter.
Yep. So this lady, she had been to a couple of these, parties at his house, whatever. And so she had written a script and she had given it to him and he looked at it, he's like, okay, file it away. But he liked her and so he cast her in one of his movies, later movie. And she showed up at his apartment one day, and so he was a pack rat. He had shit all over the place. He never threw anything away. So she randomly showed up at his apartment one day, and she's like, "Look, I want this script," and he's like, "I don't have it. I don't know where it is. Whatever." So she left, and she came back with a gun, and she shot him and this art critic, and critically shot him. Like he literally. They had to open up his chest and revive him, and he was never the same after that. Physically, he was never the same. Like, he had a lot of complications the rest of his life. And just emotionally, he was like, wow, it just shows me how, like, your life can be a TV movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was never the same after that, but that was kind of a crazy thing that happened to him. One other thing, so he was basically, like, he died at a very young age. He died in his 50s. He was a hypochondriac, and so he
Are you maybe, perhaps?
hated doctors. Yeah, he's just like me. Hypochondriac, always sick, but
Last week we convinced Tonti that he had a herniated scrotum.
No, so exactly.
And he's not been able to sleep for weeks.
He was a hypochondriac, so he was afraid, but he was afraid of doctors, so he never would go to the doctor, but he always thought he was sick. But he was, like, always sick as a child, like, deathly ill. Like, he was very sickly, and you can see that in his appearance.
Shade.
Thank you. You're going to be sorry one day. I'm kidding. But, so when he died, he requested that his entire estate be liquidated and it be set up for a charity. And so when he died, his estate was sold. It raised $20 million, and it started the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Advancement of Visual Arts. And he also, he is one of the, like, top grossing artists as far as, like, paintings being sold. Like, he's had paintings sell for $100 million.
Wow.
Plus.
He's one of the top grossing?
Yes.
I'm one of the most grossest tops.
You are the grossest stuff.
That's what it says on his Grindr profile.
Thank you.
Exactly.
When I had one.
When you had one, right?
I have
Yeah.
a pookie butt.
Yeah, you do have a pookie now. Wow. All right. was that Andy Warhol?
Dandy
Yes.
Warhol.
So
Yeah.
he was born this day. So August the.
August the
Sounds like he's making this shit up.
6th.
6th. All
Sixth.
right. Yeah.
Wait,
so
did y'all hear this?
he was born on August the 6th.
The same day as our intern,
Yeah,
Spencer.
his birthday with Spencer.
Yes.
So we get
Is that on the Canadian calendar?
that's
He's
on
Canadian.
Yes.
Yes.
And I would like to point out this podcast was a complete shit show without Spencer tonight.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Without his
His birthday
Quiche.
So
You
present.
we're
would cook
fighting
quiche
for
or
the
something.
$15 minimum wage for the intern. Thank you.
So speaking
well, your
of
boy
that,
Barry's
Thank
like
you.
Bernie Sanders
These-
can't afford it.
well, yeah, because those campaigns are unionizing. It's crazy.
Good.
And all Caleb's
No,
worried
I
about
don't-
is screwing
No,
Bernie Sanders.
those
not, like,
unions are
actually
dumb. Like,
supporting
hey,
saw-
what's wrong?
I saw a post
I'm all
up-
about screwing.
I saw a post the other day of BuzzFeed. They were
He's in love
announcing
with
that
him.
their staff room they were like, we have a union, and I'm like, that is not done. That's
All right.
not-
Anyway,
that's
that's for another.
that's not good.
Anyways.
But I mean, Bernie's and what's her name? The Pocahontas. I'm just
Come on.
kidding.
Wrap it
Elizabeth
up.
Warren,
Says
thank
your
you.
nurse
Elizabeth
who
Warren,
wants you
just
to
kidding.
practice safe sex.
She also their campaigns are unionizing. That's crazy. But anyways,
Love
yes,
her.
we need to give Spencer the props for keeping us in order because yeah,
Hey,
it was
wrap it up.
It was
Is what your sex
And a
therapist would
raise.
tell
it
you.
was a
Thank you.
complete shit show as we tried to pull this all together today. So we definitely miss him. We wish him a happy birthday.
Happy
This is not his
birthday.
obituary.
He's just
He's
Happy
alive.
birthday, Mr. Intern.
He's a young.
He just crossed over to the other side of the border.
of the border. So that's a wrap then, huh? So thank you guys for listening to our podcast and getting to know us a bit more. If you like what you heard, subscribe to hear future episodes and visit our website at Let's Talk About Gay Stuff. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Let's Talk About Gay Stuff and on Twitter at Talk Gay Stuff. And get your daily dose of LGBT history on our social media profiles, so you can get this day in LGBT history every day if you're following us. Leave us a review. We'd love to hear what you think about us. You can send us feedback to let's talk about gay stuff at gmail.com.
Send us your thoughts and prayers.
Please.
Kendall needs them.
Thoughts.
We all need prayers.
THAOTS.
Also, give a listen to our sister podcast, Our Spoopy Podcast, which is available now. And we're here.
We're queer.
Get used to it.
Thanks to our guests.
And kiss your mother on the lips. You choose which lips.